Hello, everybody. We are back with our series on Black Women's Equal Pay Day. I'm super excited to be able to provide some much needed information and resources, and just honestly, like conversation at the end of the day is really what it's about around how other Black women have managed to be successful, even though there are certain things that we battle and we are up against as it relates to being paid a fair and equal amount of money as we navigate within our careers. And so, one of the things that I've noticed is that there seems to be an ongoing trend, and it may be why Black women are the number one growing demographic for entrepreneurship. And so, today we have already had two phenomenal conversations with women who have businesses and have been able to just share why they decided to go into business for themselves. They have shared some of the different things that they've seen throughout the course of their time as business owners. And so right now, I'm super excited to have join me one of my mentors. I don't know what happened. She went away. So hopefully she joins us again in a second. But again, so Black women are not making the same as their white counterparts. But that does not mean that there are not other things that you should be doing to ensure that you get paid your worth. A lot of times, understanding how to negotiate, how to show up at the table is important. So we will be discussing that. Here we go with Karen. I just got her invite. We'll be discussing that with Karen, discussing, okay, well, how do you show up? How do you negotiate to ensure that you get paid what you deserve? Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, lady, how are you?
I am great. I am great. So I saw that you jumped in at some point while I was on with our dear friend, Tori.
I did, and I love Tori. I have a pair of her shoes. I think she's absolutely fantabulous. She's one of my favorite people and favorite designers.
Yes, Tori is amazing. So Karen is a marketing specialist, marketing guru, branding, all things to really help with the visibility. And so, Karen, did you ever have a point in time in your career where you said, you know what, I'm tired of doing this for other companies. I need to, because I don't feel like I'm getting paid what I'm worth. Did you ever encounter that?
Oh my God, yeah. I started my career. I went straight to Wall Street. I went to JP Morgan out of undergrad, then went to MBNA, and then to America Online. And at America Online, I had an average salary. I did get a lot of stock options, which is a whole other conversation, but I had an average salary. And my boss at the time, who was making twice what I made, said to me, he said, I'm going to quit and start my own business. You should quit and start your own business too, because the chances of you making it out of middle management was next to none, like less than 1%. And, at the time that sort of stung, it sort of hurt. And it wasn't him being insulting. It was just him trying to say, as an African American woman, trying to get to the top of an internet company at the time that was becoming a media company was going to be a difficult challenge for me. And so I decided to go into business for myself. And that was in 2002. So, here we are, it's 2020. So it was a while ago, but I'm really excited about it. I'm excited I did it.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost 20 years. And so, what are some things that you feel like Black women can do to be paid their worth? Do you think that it requires them to step out and start their own business? Do you think that it requires them to take a step back and be able to say, okay, well, this is what I'm bringing to the table? Like, what are some things that they should be doing?
So I think number one is to know your own worth, because I don't want people to feel like the only option for us is to work for ourselves. I am definitely considering going back to corporate America. It's something There are conversations I have every once in a while, and it's something that if the right opportunity came about, I would go. For a number of reasons, but number one, I would go because I believe at this stage in my career, it would be a great opportunity for me to help other women come up. Because the biggest challenge for us is that we don't have sponsors and women in high positions to help pull other women up to those opportunities and to those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I am thankful for my corporate career. And I tell women this who want to be entrepreneurs. I tell them, go to corporate America. There's so much you can learn in corporate America. If you don't go, you have to go to learn. Learn
Mm-hmm.
to understand how corporations think, how the sales department works, how operations work, how, customer service works. Learn those areas, and then if you decide to go out on your own, you will have learned from the best, especially if you get into a great corporation where you're learning from people who have remarkable careers. And it helps. It helps your resume, it helps you attain clients, and it helps you to run your own business. And
Mm-hmm.
so I am pro small business, there's no question about it, but I'm also pro corporate under the right circumstances.
And I think that corporate definitely helps you build your muscle, gives you the opportunity to have insiders, where you have that opportunity and you can say, like, yo, I know these people at these organizations and they've had the opportunity to work with you.
Right.
Um, where you guys are colleagues. And I do believe that there's something to say about learning the ropes before you just step out there. I think a lot of people just think, oh, well, I want to do this and I'm just going to do it. But they've never done anything remotely close to it. And they don't always have the right mentors in their corner to guide them and say, hey, try this, or I've done it this way. You might find greater success in doing X, Y, or Z. So I totally agree. Now, when it comes to negotiating, I was on a call earlier this morning and this guy was sharing, hey, my wife um, just applied for a job. She had her interview. And I told her, don't take the first offer that you're supplied. What are some key negotiating tactics that people should be mindful of as they are, whether it's negotiating a rental or negotiating a new position within a company?
So let's focus on the position in a company, because a lot of these lessons I had to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. And for most of us, especially women of color, we come from a place where our parents or grandparents, they weren't at high levels in corporations either, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we tend to come from families, whether they're immigrant families or families that are descendants of slaves, where having the job was the win. So just getting into the corporation was the win. So if you got your job, you better not rock the boat. You better not ask for anything. Just be happy that you're there, because having the job was the win for our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents. It was just, oh, I got the job at the bank, or I work at the post office. And they were happy for that, right?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have to teach each other to know your value and to know what you bring to the table. So my girlfriends who are in corporate call me all the time and ask me for suggestions. So the things I bring up are, definitely don't take the first salary offer. And I don't care if you're entry level or if you're an executive. I don't care if the entry rate is $15 an hour and it's in customer service. If you've worked in customer service before, you need to walk in and say, well, I worked in customer service. I worked at this grocery store. I worked at Chipotle. I know how to talk to people, blah, blah, blah. I deserve $16 an hour. And here's why. So that's number one. The
But
number
wait,
two, mhm.
Karen, but what if we're scared?
But see,
What
that's
if
the
we're
issue. We're
We're
afraid.
scared to ask for the raise because we're just happy to have the job.
And that's really the issue. We're afraid. We're not taught to ask for those things. So that's why this is so important that you and I are having this conversation, and that women can teach other women. So no matter if it's customer service at Amazon warehouse, it's, I deserve $16 because I used to work here. I worked at the grocery store. I worked in my parents' business in the summer. I was a lifeguard, whatever it was. This is what I did where I interacted with people. So I'm walking into the door with experience, because this is what men do. Men whether they were caddies, whether they worked at the country club, whether they spent the summer in the Hamptons being, going waiting tables, they walk in and say, this is my experience that I have. Therefore, I deserve this. And most of the time we are afraid, and we're just so thankful we don't say anything. So always ask for money. Second, now, and you're going to have Cheryl Wood on tonight, I tell my girlfriends to ask for a coach, especially if you're going into an executive role. Ask for a budget for a coach and educational training. Because if you're in corporate, you have to continuously educate yourself. You have to continuously train. You have to continuously learn all of the new technology that's constantly coming out. So I always say to them, okay, well, if your salary is X, ask for $20,000 or $30,000 of coaching and educational. So where they pay for the coach and they pay for whatever executive class, advanced Excel, now everyone's learning the Google Suite, Google, whatever the tools are. Slack is big now. People are, learning how to be experts in Slack, so that you can learn all of the tools of what's coming and what's required for you to be an expert at your job. Then, depending upon the type of role that you have, ask for a bonus. That if I hit all my deliverables in 6 months, either this is the bonus or this is the raise. And so people are so afraid to ask for those things because they're just so happy that they've been, named vice president of such and such. And I'm like, okay, so ask for the 6-month deliverables and then say, well, if I hit all these deliverables in 6 months or sooner, or let's just say 6 months, I hit my deliverables, this is the bonus or the raise I want. So if you're not willing to give me the raise today, if I meet my goals and every 6 months I meet with you, manager, and I've hit my goals, I expect to be compensated for that.
Now, Karen, I feel like some people may think, well, you have a business right now, so that might be something you can do. But I got bills to pay, and I don't want them to boot me out and tell me, like, what are you thinking? Like, you should be happy that you even have this title, or you should be happy that you're getting paid what you are making. Right. So how do they combat that confidence that they are worthy of all of these extras, or the confidence of even saying, hey, well, yeah, this is the amount that you guys think that I'm worth, but this is what I believe I'm worth. I think that the confidence thing is a huge issue for Black women.
I agree, and it is. So part of the challenge, and I struggled with it, to get to where I am today. This isn't who I was 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. I had to struggle with this. So I invested in myself. I got more education and I got more training. So what happens is if you have one source of income, which is a job, which for a lot of us it is, and for everyone who's watching this that has one source of income, I would strongly suggest that you change that to 2 or 3, because the only way you're going to get to a certain level of success and to build generational wealth is to have multiple streams of income. So if you only have one, then think of whatever hobby, whatever it is that you can do that can add, and you have a second string of income. That's the first thing that you need to focus on, especially now in 2020.
So some of the things that Karen's talking about, and I think it's very powerful, is just understanding that when you're negotiating, sometimes you're not always just negotiating dollars and cents that necessarily has to come into your pocket, but understanding how to speak to the organizations and say, hey, well, potentially, here's some value add that if you're investing these things in me, then you will be able to recoup this on the other end. Tori, is the audio better now? I think we were switching over to make sure that we are on.
I'm on the wire now. Is that better?
Oh, yes.
What I have learned, and even now, like I said, I'm actually having a couple conversations with a few corporations, and I would not be surprised if in 2021 I went back to corporate America. So in those conversations, because of who I am today compared to who I was, back in 2002 when I left America Online, I know my value and my worth to walk into that corporation. I know what I bring to the table. So therefore, I don't come from it from a place of fear or a place of, oh, I don't want to lose this job. And that's what I was saying a lot of this is a mindset shift in how we speak to each other and how we speak to our children around being in the place of, oh, just be happy to get the job. Because for most people of color, it's just be happy you got the job, get there, shut up, put your head down, work hard. And we have to change that mindset to, okay, you deserve to have the job. You deserve to be in the room. You deserve a seat at the table, and you deserve to be heard. Now, is it equitable? No. By no means is it equitable. Is it fair? No. Is it utopia? No. But if you are a talented person, good at your job, good at what you do, if that corporation doesn't value and recognize your talents, there's another corporation that will.
Absolutely.
And what happens is, in all honesty, and I see this with a lot of women, I see this with a lot of my peers, they get to a certain level in corporate America and they're making a certain salary and they just get comfortable, to be honest. I heard you talk to Corey about designer clothes. They make a certain amount. They make more than their mama ever made, more than their daddy ever made. They have a nice home. They can buy designer clothes or take a nice vacation. And they sort of get to this place where they just get comfortable and they're like, I can full stop. I can coast this out to 65.
Right.
And they don't have to be executive vice president. They don't have to be managing director. They don't have to make it to the C-suite. They're making enough money that they're calm, they're content. And the difference is men generally don't stop at content. They keep going. Whereas women get to, I make more than my mom or my dad, so therefore I'm a success because I make more than what they did.
So to that point, we actually have a man that's on the line, our only male that is on the line, my good friend, Michael Eric Dyson. Mike, I'm going to tap you in. I want to hear what you have to say about what Karen just said in regards to what women typically do versus what men do. Let me see if I can tag you to come join us.
Dr. Dyson. Absolutely love Dr. Dyson.
Let's see. No. Oh, I can't tag you in. It's not letting me in. It's hating on us. It's hating.
You know what? Instagram.
So
Mark
temperamental.
Hey, Mark Zuckerberg, please, let us expand some of this.
Let us be great. Let us be great.
Yeah, Instagram will be great. Let me also say this, and I say this to women all the time. One of the things that men do, especially if there's a male boss, and this is just bias, right? Men automatically assume that the male is head of his household. He has a wife and children that are dependent upon him. So when it's time to do the raises, even though you may be a top performer, that bias kicks in and says, well, John has a wife and kids and he's the head of his household. So John deserves that extra 0.5% above Angel. Not that she didn't perform, it's just that Angel doesn't have a family.
The responsibility.
Right. She just has herself to take up. She's single. She comes in here with her beautiful shoes and her beautiful bags. She doesn't need that extra 0.5%. Whereas John has kids. He wants to send his kids to college. He's paying for summer camps. His wife is pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And that bias kicks in because we're human beings, right? And so that bias kicks in. And that's where things get challenging for us. And so the other thing, too, women don't ask for stretch assignments and men do. And I tell my girlfriends in corporate all the time, I'm like, well, if you want to get to vice president or you want to get to SVP, you've got to ask for that stretch assignment. You've got to ask for that job.
Explain stretch assignments.
So a stretch assignment is when you're asked to do something outside of the scope of your day-to-day job. So let's say you're the customer service manager and you manage a team of 100 customer service reps. And that's what you do, and you're really good at it, and your team loves you. So to ask for the stretch assignment, because you want to move from manager to, say, associate vice president or director, you want to move to director, and you ask for a stretch assignment. A stretch assignment may be taking on a team in another jurisdiction for a year, going to the London office for a year, or helping roll out a new product. So you step away from your day-to-day role and you're a part of the product launch team, or you're a part of some other team, some new initiative in the corporation. And so that stretch assignment is more work, or it's a different location, but it puts you in front of a different group of people. It expands your skill set. And if that assignment is done well and the launch is wonderful, then all of a sudden you get to say in your performance review, I did a great job on X. I was a part of the launch team of blah, blah, blah. So I deserve this raise, or I deserve the promotion because I did everything and I asked for the opportunity. You didn't come to me, I asked you for it. And usually when you do a stretch assignment, other areas of the corporation see your talent, and that's when there's more opportunity. So if you're in customer service and you're trying to get out of operations and get into account services, or get into product, or get into sales, if you're in that stretch assignment that introduces you to the business development team or the product team, all of a sudden you may have an opportunity to take a job in product because now you've got the relationships there.
Right. Now, again, we talked about like how it has a lot to do with confidence, it has a lot with doing to do with knowing your worth. What are some things that women should be doing to identify and build up the courage to walk in and say, hey, I deserve a raise? Like, I'm gonna actually give you an example. One of my mentees recently was like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to go to my boss and tell them that I'm not being paid what I should be. And essentially saying how the boss has added on all of these assignments. So a whole scope creep came in to do marketing and now is doing writing government contracts, doing business development. So like two totally different job descriptions now, right? And so, but she's afraid to ask for an increase right now because we're in the midst of COVID, right? And so they're still like, well, I'm scared, maybe I'll ask for this in like 6 months to a year. What should she be doing? Or even, is it worth a conversation right now? Or how do you build your confidence to say?
First of all, if you can write government contracts, especially a technical one, you're golden in this town anyway, right? If you're doing business development to the federal government, if you're doing sales to the federal government, you're worth a lot of money, because that's a very unique skill that places like Booz and McKinsey and Bain and a whole bunch of other large government contractors pay a fortune to people to do. So, number one, there's this great app called Blind. I recommend that everyone get it. It's called Blind. Blind app has a lot of employees that post and share about jobs, offers they've given, and it is anonymous. So you can ask the question, hey, I was given this option, this raise or this division. They share a lot of information about corporate America and startup tech America. But if your mentee is trying to figure out how to ask, what I would do is have her do a few informational email calls to folks on LinkedIn that do the same thing that she does. Just sort of ask and say, hey, in your company, what's, someone with my experience, what would they earn? Or, what's a comparable salary at Booz or at McKinsey or at Bain with these skill sets, or whatever government contractor with my skill sets. And that, on LinkedIn, you can search for people who have the same job title or have that job title, and even look on LinkedIn to see what some of the ranges are. And so she can go to her boss and say, hey, well, if I've added to my skill set and I'm now your go-to proposal person, and I'm coming out with these great technical proposals for the federal government that is winning you money, winning you opportunity. Now, the boss may say, hey, well, we haven't won the contract yet, so I can't pay you more, which is fair. But then be able to say, hey, well, if you win this contract, I'm going to write myself into this contract at this hourly fee. and I
Mm-hmm.
expect to be compensated at that hourly fee because I just wrote myself into that contract.
Right. Right. No, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
And or one of my close girlfriends was working for booze probably, and working on contracts, saw how much they were billing her out as, and said, I quit. I'm gonna create my own company, and you're gonna hire me in that role I just wrote for myself. And that's what she's done ever since. She doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
a website, she doesn't market anything, because she has built up a reputation that literally the big companies want to hire her for whatever role they have available in some of these agencies, because she has she really just represents herself, but she earns enough income because she's billing at that billable hour, so they're still
Mm-hmm.
making money off of her. So they may be billing her to the government at 300 an hour, and she's charging the federal government, she's charging them 225, and she's
Mm-hmm.
still going to do the job, and they just make $75 because she's a sub on the contract,
Right. Right.
but she's still billing at 225 an hour
Right.
and
Right.
working a 40-hour week.
Right. No, love it. Love it. Well, these have definitely been some gems that I believe will help people as they navigate to owning their power and negotiating for what they are worth. Any last minute thoughts that you want to share, Karen?
So also to tell women, it's more than just compensation. It's coaching. It's PR. It's education. It's pay for me, not just to get my master's or advanced degrees, but to go take a class at Columbia, or to go take a class at Georgetown, or to go take a class at Stanford, or to apply to a special program at MIT or to the MIT Media Lab and have the corporation sponsor you to do that. So a lot of times it's not just money. It's thinking about how you increase your education and your marketability and your skill set. So if the corporation says no to money, ask for training and education. Which
And
makes
and
it
and
more
I
remarkable.
and to that point, it also helps them because you can, pitch it and say, hey, I want to make sure that what I'm doing is the latest and greatest, that I'm up to date. I want to always be that person that makes sure that we are pushing the envelope and being ahead of the curve and not behind the curve trying to play catch up. And I think that that's something that most companies will stand behind that, and they will eagerly say, oh yeah, you're interested in that, I'm with it. I know my line sister, Microsoft, is huge on employee learning. They're constantly telling them, hey, take this professional course, do this, do that, because they see the value add that it not only gives that person, but that it brings into their corporation. So I think that that's great advice.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So thank you for joining me, Karen. I hope that you enjoyed the time. But again, like if there's any last minute things that you think of, y'all can follow Karen. Her page is Advertising Diva on Instagram. I think it's pretty much everywhere. Advertising Diva.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere.
Yes. Well, it's been awesome having you. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. And our next Blitz will start at 6 p.m. So we're going to take a break. I have a graduation I have to go to. I'm graduating from the Mount Vernon leadership program this afternoon. So I'm going to do that. Thank you. And then, yes, we will join back up around, like I said, 6 o'clock. We have 3 more phenomenal ladies that we will be speaking with. Kendra Perkins Norwood is at 6. 7 o'clock, we have Tressa Azarel. We also have Cheryl Wood. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I will see you guys back here at 6 p.m. Have a great afternoon. Bye.